Good afternoon. My name is Ala McCoy. I'm Director of Startup Support at the University of Maryland's UM Ventures. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone who joined us today for the next installment in Startup Fundamentals Workshop Series, both the live webinar audience and those watching a recorded version on our YouTube channel. This workshop series is offered by UM Ventures in collaboration with MTech at the Clark School of Engineering and Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship at the Smith School of Business. I'm pleased to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Mehrdad Etemad, a serial entrepreneur with a unique and a fascinating story. Thank you so much for taking your time today to tell us about your story, about your background, and share your wisdom about what to do and what not to do. And since your presentation is based on your background and your story and your experience, I won't say much more about it and about you, and let the audience learn from you so I don't spoil any beans. To everyone attending the live session, please feel free to submit questions using the Q&A function. It's either at the bottom or the top of your screen. You'll see it says Q&A. And Mr. Etemad will answer the questions at the end of the presentation. I will also be able to unmute your microphone and you can answer your question, ask your question. This session is recorded and will be posted on our Startup UMD YouTube channel, so you can submit your questions in writing anonymously if you would like that. So, Mr. Etemad, thank you again so much for joining us today. The microphone is yours. I'm going to turn off my mic and my camera. The stage is yours, and I'm very much looking forward to learning your fascinating story.
Thank you, Ala, for warm welcome. Good afternoon. The agenda for my presentation is as follows. So first, I start with introducing myself. My name is Mehrdad Etemad. I was born in Iran, and after finishing high school, came to this country in 1961, attended UC Berkeley and earned a BS degree in mechanical engineering, and started working as a junior engineer at International Telephone and Telegraph Corporation in San Jose, California. Being raised in a business-oriented family in Tehran, I always wanted to go back to Iran and start my own business in a manufacturing environment. In order to be better prepared to start and operate a manufacturing business, I enrolled in the Industrial Engineering MS program at Cal State in San Jose that offered master's degree classes in the evenings. I returned to Iran in 1970, and together with my brother, a Columbia University IE graduate, started a trading company importing dual reactor incinerators and waste handling systems. And in 1973, we set up two packaging production facilities, one producing corrugated box and the other one folding cartons. Under license from SLT Group of Sweden, who are also our joint venture partners in packaging business, and a license from PurePak for producing meal cartons, the same cartons that are currently prevalent in the US supermarkets. In 1979, we moved to Pennsylvania and started manufacturing incinerators and waste-to-energy systems. In 1989, I separated from my brother and joined a starting engineering company in Los Angeles, where we exported technology in electronics field to China and the former Yugoslavia. Along the way, I advised a group of investors in LA to take over a Church's Chicken franchise with 56 restaurants in California and Nevada, and acted as CFO of the new franchise for 18 months.
Mr. Etemad, can I interrupt you? We don't see your next slide. You're still on the agenda slide.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
All right, sorry about that. In 2000, I joined the World Bank Group as senior advisor, advising the SMEs in management best practices, covering the Balkan regions. And in 2008, I joined a starting publicly traded gold mining company in Azerbaijan as Senior VP and COO, and retired in 2017, and now available for freelance consulting. So when I learned about the UM Venture program at the University of Maryland through my friend, Dr. Sultani, I offered to share my experience in a few of the startups that I had co-founded or managed during my career, which was welcomed by Ms. McCoy. In this presentation, I would like to share specific episodes in 5 of the startup operations that I believed could be beneficial to your group. I hope that my examples would be applicable to some of the projects that you will be engaged in. So the first case is introducing dual reactor incinerators to the market in Iran. The second case is marketing lined cartons in Iran, which was a product of our folding carton manufacturing operation. The third is the case of outsourcing fabrication in the incinerator manufacturing company in Pennsylvania. The fourth is exporting technology in the engineering company in Los Angeles, California. And the fifth is the case of burning the cash before starting the business operation in gold mining company in Azerbaijan. So as I mentioned during my introduction, my brother and I formed a trading company in 1971, and the first product that we selected was importing dual reactor incinerators. The reason we selected this product was that during the 1960s, with the increase in oil revenues, Iran had experienced a gigantic economic development, and during the 70s, there were unlimited business opportunities for young entrepreneurs. My brother and I, with the participation of our extended family members, formed a trading company and focused on importing products that were new to the market. When in the US, I had been exposed to the development of technologies that targeted the air quality and waste management practices. We picked waste incinerators as a starting product, and after contacting several US manufacturers through their listings in Thomas Register, which was the main source of the US company's listings, we selected one of the suppliers and imported one for the testing. As a brief introduction, the basic technology of modern waste incinerators that have not changed since the late 60s is based on 2-stage combustion process. As shown in the schematic, as the first stage, the waste is loaded on the hearth, where it is fired and converted to gases through a controlled air gasification process. In the second stage, these gases are ignited and fully combusted through the oxidation process. The 2-stage process enables the dual reactor system to destroy a wide variety of materials in a non-polluting manner. Gasification is the thermal decomposition of waste in an oxygen-controlled atmosphere. Moisture and hydrocarbons are driven off, leaving only a small amount of dry, sterile ash. Our challenge was to introduce the product and the concept of clean disposal of waste to the potential clients. We searched for the place to install the incinerator for demonstration. A motel in Tehran suburb that was managed by a family friend accepted to have the incinerator installed free of charge, where they could dispose of their trash without polluting the air. To demonstrate the operation to potential clients, we selected the hospital chains, one run by the Iranian Red Cross and the other by the military health system. As our potential clients, we invited the organization's representatives to observe the incinerator operation and demonstrate the clean disposal of their hospital trash in a safe way and without polluting the air. Within a 2-year period, we started installing incinerators in both hospital chains, importing the incinerators from one of the Sunbeam Corporation subsidiaries, and after 4 years, our purchases constitute over 60% of the supplier's production. So here is a typical incinerator that we marketed in Iran. So our takeaway for this case is that having an operating unit demonstrating the waste disposal in a safe and clean way was an instant success. The costs associated with importing and operating the test model proved to be the money well spent. That also moved the timeline for the first order much closer than what we had anticipated. I know for a fact that marketing is the most challenging first step that any startup company is faced with. I thought this particular example would provide ideas for certain products or technology that you will be marketing. I believe the majority of the products that you develop would be new to the market, as was my incinerator 50 years ago in Iran. And you may want to consider staging your product at one of your potential customers' facilities to operate and showcase it. The second case that I would like to present is the case of setting up a contract packing operation in order to demonstrate lined cartons in Iran. In 1973, my brother and I, partially with the family and friends investments, and with participation of the Industrial Development Bank and a joint venture with the SLT Group of Sweden, set up 2 manufacturing facilities in Iran, one producing corrugated boxes and the other producing folding cartons and lined cartons. In this slide, it shows the various types of carton boxes we produced in our folding cartons plant and the typical dry good packing machine. What was new for the Iranian market was the lined cartons, and that was the most profitable line of our product. We had exclusive representation for Sika packing machines that was produced by one of the SLT Group subsidiaries that would use the lined cartons for filling and packing dry goods. So in order to market the lined cartons into the Iranian market, we set up a small production line with 1 packing machine and offered contract packing to tea merchants in Tehran Bazaar. The tea traders would market their own brand in the retail market rather than sell in bulk to small stores. The operation became very successful. While we introduced the operation to our clients, we made good profit in contract packing, selling our lined cartons at a very good profit margin while marketing the new concept of packaging. As a takeaway, so we needed to think out of the box. There is no better way to demonstrate the application of a product than showing a profitable operation. A potential client could test packing of its dry good in a lined carton, observe the operation, and assess the feasibility of the concept for its own operation. Obviously, not all products or ideas have application for a standalone business operation. However, the one that they do could be a candidate for this approach. As an example, you may think of providing partial financing to a potential client to set up his or her business as marketing costs of your concept. The third case is the case of outsourcing fabrication in order to streamline manufacturing and optimize the cash flow management. In 1980, we moved to Pennsylvania and bought a small fabrication shop in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, which was producing waste compactors and loaders. We also purchased the manufacturing license of a dual reactor incinerator system from a company in New York and started manufacturing incinerators in Potsdam shop. As we started marketing our products, we soon realized that each incinerator system was customized to the client's specs, and we could not produce any product for stock. As a starting company, our orders were few and far in between, and our shop experienced many hours or days of light work. We had 20 high-skilled laborers and staff working in the shop, and downtime due to lack of orders was financially unsustainable. We realized our mistake and decided to cut our losses and changed our business model. We sold our shop and contracted the manufacturing to an independent fabricator. This is a typical large incinerator system being manufactured in a fabrication shop. The switch enabled us to restructure our organization to an engineering and marketing group and prolong our financial sustainability. Outsourcing our fabrication enabled us to calculate our manufacturing costs precisely by getting offers from our fabricator and quote every order with profitable margin. We sourced fabricators who were willing to invoice us after delivery, hence improving our cash flow since we were receiving 25% advance payments from the clients, basically receiving our profit margin 2 to 4 months before delivery of the order. One very important aspect of outsourcing the manufacturing was having unlimited manufacturing capacity. This capability proved to be a game changer for us 4 years later when we won a bid to deliver 50 units of large incinerators to Egypt at a price of over $3 million. So here's the takeaway. As a startup company, the founders have the opportunity to choose their business model. Outsourcing the production, given there will be adequate protection for the design and technology, could be the right option, providing the following opportunities. As benefits of outsourcing manufacturing for a startup company, I would list low initial investment, which results in lower funding and financing requirements for a startup company, which is always a challenge. Testing the market without making large investment, and as a result, minimizing investment risks, controlling cost and profit margins, therefore maximizing profitability. Minimize manufacturing costs by finding the most suitable fabricator, or select several according to their specializations and have the components assembled at one of the fabricator shops. Having unlimited fabrication capacity with no investment. Easy switch to in-house fabrication, with having the opportunity to design and build the most optimum and efficient manufacturing facility. Easier fulfillment of compliance requirements, where certain environmental or safety regulations applies to the fabrication or testing processes. You would choose a fabricator that meets all the required compliance requirements. Building a manufacturing facility that meets some of these regulations could be very costly. You can improve your focus on your core business activity, which is design and sale. So we go to the fourth case that illustrates the exporting or licensing of technology or design that has been developed. In 1989, I joined a starting engineering company in Los Angeles as vice president of operations. The business model of the company was to export state-of-the-art technologies in the electronics field to China and Eastern Europe by setting up a joint venture with the local company, subscribing to 25% of the company's shares and secure project financing from the local banks. Our company provided the technology in the form of manuals and training of the client's technicians and engineers in the US. We provided lectures in design, manufacturing operations, quality control, and other aspects of the business as hands-on training in a manufacturing facility in the US, where we had contracted for the service. We also provided the complete list of production equipment and plant design. We charged a fee for providing all the services, which came close to the amount of investment in the JV. By the end of 1994, we had successfully set up 3 joint ventures in China: a printed circuit board manufacturing plant, ceramic resistor and capacitor chips manufacturing plant, as well as a laminate board manufacturing plant. We also set up a printed circuit board manufacturing plant in the Republic of Macedonia. The total project amounted to about $45 million, while the total shareholders' investment in the engineering company was only $250,000. So here's the takeaway for this case. There are certain inventions for which you may not find ready and or immediate market in the US, barring any national security issues that may prohibit the export of technology to a third country, especially outside the Western Europe. You may find potential and eager investors who may be interested in buying or licensing the technology or forming a joint venture for producing the product in their own country. The main advantage of forming a JV is that it provides assurance to the potential foreign investor that you're willing to invest in your own invention. In other words, you are willing to put your hands where your mouth is. At the same time, as a shareholder in a joint venture, you would have certain control on protecting your design and where the products will be marketed. Also, as parts of the JV agreement, you could reserve the North American market and have exclusive right for manufacturing and marketing a product or services in the US or North America. So in other words, you may want to look at markets outside of the US for licensing your design and technologies as a complement to the US market to raise funding for your US operation, or in the event that there was no ready market for the products, for your product in the US. The fifth case illustrates the importance of cash management prior to starting the business operation. I joined the gold and copper mining company in Azerbaijan in 2008 as vice president at a time when the company was starting to commence its mining operation. And I was in charge of managing the construction of the infrastructure and the facilities, as well as procuring the necessary equipment for the excavation and extraction operations. The company had gone public with an IPO in the London Stock Exchange in 2005 and had raised $30 million based on confirmed gold and copper reserves. However, the gold was trading in mid $400 an ounce, and more exploration was desirable to make the mining operation more viable. So during the 2005 to 2007 period, the company undertook additional exploration activities by hiring high-priced technical staff and consultants with minimal board control, and lost $3 million on purchasing the wrong processing equipment. During this period, the company had opened offices in London, where the CEO and CFO were located, and had spent substantial amount of money on overhead and traveling expenses, flying first class and staying in expensive hotels. When I joined the company in mid 2008, the founder of the company took over as the CEO and restructured the company's management and reduced the overhead expenses substantially. However, the cash in the bank was only $5 million, and the estimated project cost was over $40 million. All efforts to secure project financing from the banks in Western Europe and the international development banks at reasonable commercial rates had failed. However, the CEO, with the support of the local government, was able to secure a $25 million loan at 15% annual interest, which was extremely high for a starting mining company. The picture on the left is the picture of the mining camp and the background village. The camp and the roads were the first phase of the construction. The picture on the right shows the leach pads and leaching pond where the leach pads are loaded with the ore. The leaching and recovery of gold started in early 2009, and the first gold was produced in April of 2009. It was a great challenge for me and my team to take the project to the first gold production with the available financing. So we had to utilize creative financing, such as extended letter of credit and supplier's credit, to extend the cash flow until the first gold was produced. So when the gold production started to flow in May of 2009, the price of gold had reached to $850 an ounce and increased to $1,100 an ounce in 2011. The high price of gold was a great help to close the gap, finish the project, and meet the obligations to the lenders and creditors in a timely manner. The $25 million loan was paid back 2 years ahead of schedule. Here's the picture of the gold and copper processing plant after the completion of the first expansion project at the additional cost of $50 million in 2013. So here's the takeaway. Funding for a startup or a green project have always been difficult and challenging. When an opportunity presents itself, and in the case of this mining company that raised $30 million in an IPO, squandering of the cash within 2 years was a grave mistake, mainly caused by mismanagement. If the local bank, with the support of the local government, had not stepped forward, the consequences would have been very serious for a publicly traded company. So the message is to preserve your initial funding as if your life depended on it. Managing the cash flow with the available funding is one of the key parameters for bringing a startup venture to fruition. It is not uncommon for a startup company to get short of cash during or toward the end of the project. Applying creative financing and being open and transparent with your suppliers and creditors are paramount to success. So at the end of my presentation, I would like to go over a list of do's and don'ts prior to launching your project. I assume, sorry. I assume that most of the entrepreneurs in this group would have a science and technology background. Therefore, during the early stage of a startup process, I recommend the following do's and don'ts. There are 2 areas that I would highly recommend to educate yourself in: financial accounting and project planning. You should be able to understand what are the components of a balance sheet statement and the detailed list of assets and liabilities. Profit and loss statements, understand the components of cost, how to prepare a project cost, project budget, and cash flow, even if you have in-house accountants or financial advisor. As part of my MS degree in IE program, I took a course in cost accounting that covered basic accounting principles. This was the most valuable knowledge throughout my career. You should also be able to construct a project plan and a schedule and follow through with continuous updates. Project planning software enables you to proactively manage resource utilization, identify bottlenecks early, accurately forecast resource needs, and timely delivery. In my view, one of the key benefits of project planning for a startup company is that it enables the project team to better manage the project's cash flow. By listing the detailed tasks of the project team will be able to construct the cash flow based on estimated time of the task's expenditure, being equipment purchase or use of external resources. When a bottleneck is identified in the project, which is a normal occurrence in any startup business, the project team will be able to adjust its cash flow accordingly and plan for deviation. There are many project planning softwares in the market. I've used Microsoft Project, which is user-friendly and easy to use. But don't try to do it all yourself. I would recommend that you familiarize yourself in the areas of marketing, conflict of interest, corporate governance, licensing, patents, source of funding and grants, taxes, etc., by attending seminars and self-education. But as an inventor, do not try to become an expert in any of these areas in order to do the job yourself. My suggestion is to hire legal and financial experts to do the very specific jobs and with pre-approved cost and budget. As an inventor, you are the best salesman for your product. However, you need an expert to open the door for you and make the pitch. So when you make budgeting plans, you should set aside enough funds to cover the expenses of experts to take you to the finish line. So thank you for listening, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much. It's so interesting to hear how you established ventures all over the world, in the United States and abroad. So it's very fascinating. Thank you so much for telling us about your story. Obviously, there's a lot more. We don't have enough time for you to delve in all the details, but very much appreciate. So please submit your questions, or you can also raise your hand at this point. I can unmute your mic. We have our first question. Thank you for your presentation, helpful takeaways. How did you control product quality and possible intellectual properties when you outsourced your incinerator products? A great question.
I assume you're referring to case where we are using a fabricator, for example, to manufacture the goods. Normally, those companies that are in the business of contract manufacturing, they really respect this aspect of the business and really protect your design and technology from being copied or being, taken away or any other reason. And obviously, you sign a contract, and they should be responsible for abiding by the contract. Now, one other aspect of the operation would be, or for our responsibility was to have a person, not necessarily continuously, but occasionally go to the fabrication shop and not only observe the quality, which was extremely important, and if there was any problem, they would have to redo the job, and do quality control during the entire process of fabrication.
Thank you. This is good. This is great. Um, and the following question is also: how did you navigate any export control? Any export control questions? Any export control regulations? Are there any specific advice do you have on how to navigate the export control issues?
The products that the technology that we exported during the 90s were really in the public domain. There were no real patent on manufacturing any of these products. So the concept and the technology were more or less common knowledge. So we had engineers who were expert in any one of these products that were doing the training and transfer of technology. Now, obviously, where you have it could be very much true in the case that a product is invented and obviously through going through the process of patenting the product. And as I said, if there is a restriction on export of that particular technology, then obviously you need to go through the export control process with through the government agencies and secure the permit to export. Also, of course, it is critical that you sign a contract with a well-known industrial group or a well-established business in a foreign country, so that it is very difficult for that particular establishment to try to renege on the contract and the agreements. But if obviously you go with a typical rich person as an investor, you would be creating a risk. So my suggestion would be certainly to become partner with a well-established company or industrial group in a foreign country.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question is, what are some of the tips on how to accelerate the growth of a small business? So that's a big question. I guess depends on the business, but if you could give some advice.
Just the first sentence, if you could speak a bit louder and...
Oh, sure. Sorry. What are some of the tips on how to accelerate the growth of a small business?
Oh, wow. $64,000 question.
Yep.
I guess. Yeah. My personal experience is perseverance. never give up, hard work, and try to be realistic with your funding, with your cash flow, because cash is king. And if you can sustain your business, and if you believe in it, and if the market is right, then eventually you will succeed. Obviously, there are many other factors that some of it is beyond my own knowledge and experience, but this is my own personal experience.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a big question, hard to address. So next question is, do you happen to know how is the stock of the mining company doing now? How many people are employed at the mining company now?
Yeah. Without identifying the company, when I left in 2017, we had over 500 employees.
Oh wow!
Because obviously the price of gold and copper increased to about $1,400-$1,500 in 2016, 2015, 2016, and the annual revenue reached to shy of $100 million, and is one of the most successful small cap listings in London Stock Exchange.
That's fantastic. Thank you. I don't see any more questions. If anyone would like to, if anyone thinks of a question later, please send them to me by email. I'll forward them to Mr. Etemad. But at this point, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Like I said, a very interesting and fascinating story. Most people think of outsourcing, when people think today about outsourcing manufacturing, most people think of China, but you showed us that there are other opportunities and possibilities, and thank you for sharing with us some of the difficulties you had to overcome and how you had to overcome them, and some of the lessons learned, mistakes that were made, and some of the ones that you had to fix successfully. Again, thank you so much for spending your time with us and sharing your wisdom with us.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.